So, as I was saying, you can go back and watch this video and you can look over your notes and follow along with these um, terms. So, you have de facto and you have de jure. Um, I always thought that it was super simple that if you think of a jury, you're going to think of law, and you say de jure. So, de jure segregation means that it was segregation imposed by law. And if you think of de facto segregation, um, I just think of somebody getting all like snooty and they're like, de facto the matter is, this is my opinion. So you can take that if you want and help you. Yeah. All right, moving forward. During this time, very early on, the reason that the civil rights movement became so prominent is because people were fighting for integration in the school system. Um, you had blacks and whites separated in education, and sometimes you didn't even have African Americans who would even go to school because, I mean, there may not have been enough seats for them, and maybe they had to go to work as soon as they could because African Americans were at a lesser advantage than white people. They lived in poverty. They had to really, really work for the things that they had because they were just not given any type of head start in life. So, things that you should know from this picture is that you have these individuals who represent the NAACP. We learned about them a while ago. And then you have Thurgood Marshall, which is right here. He's an attorney. He's actually from Baltimore, Maryland. He was a very good attorney, and he worked side by side with the NAACP on several Supreme Court cases and was very successful. Their goal was to promote racial equality in the Supreme Court and to catch America up and to catch law up with the everyday things that African Americans were facing. Okay, you say they're free, you say that they have rights, you say they're separate but equal, but are they really equal? Are they being treated equally? No, they weren't being treated equally. They were being discriminated against. They were being killed by mob people, KKK, with lynchings and all of that. I mean, it was crazy. Um, so he worked side by side along them, won several cases, and then it came down to the point when they were going to present Brown versus Board of Education to the Supreme Court. So there's Thurgood Marshall. You can take the time to look at that term. Brown versus Board of Education was a huge win for the African American community. This integrated public schools, and in the South, it got really bad after this because people did not want blacks and whites going to the same school, but it needed to be done, and you can see where we are now with it. If you look at the picture to the right, the woman is holding a newspaper that says High Court bans segregation in public schools. Um, Segregation was outdated. It didn't need to be happening anymore. You needed to segregate. People deserved education, and it didn't matter if you were black, white, yellow, green, or orange. So after the Brown versus Board of Education was a victory, you had a Chief Justice that was very important, and his name was Earl Warren. So there's your Brown versus Board. Can highlight that. Earl Warren was the leader on the Supreme Court. He was the Chief Justice. You have 9 total justices, and he was in charge of all of them. It's like being the team captain. And he was very, very prominent during the Brown versus Board trials. He even said that you cannot have segregation. Um, Separate but equal has no place anymore. You can't be separated and have equality. So you have to bring people together. And that was his idea behind integrating public schools. So, Chief Justice Earl Warren, thank you for having a level head. And some of you might say, well, he's white. Yeah, he is. But you know what? He is pretty smart and he made a really good decision whenever he voted to desegregate public schools. So there you go on that one.